Okay, I'm live. What I'm going to do tonight is do a little read through a list on our limiting core beliefs. So basically, core beliefs they come from childhood, where and often we don't know what they are. It takes us a while to figure out. What I would like to do as well, I'm not sure if I can be heard at this point. So if let me see, I'm live. I'm just checking that I can hear, that I can be heard. Right, yeah, okay. Right, so what I'm doing is reading through, understanding what core beliefs are. So core beliefs, if not looked at, can run our lives. And basically it's the inner critic. The inner critic generally comes from childhood. It can be belief systems and cultural beliefs that we have been given as children, consensus reality, so to speak. And a lot of these beliefs run our lives, and they can, be very disabling for us. So if we look at what they are, then we can begin to work through them. And one of the books that I do bring up every time I come on is Complex PTSD from Surviving to Thriving by Pete Walker. He talks about getting rid of the inner critic before we do any of the deep work on dealing with PTSD and trauma, because without the knowledge, and I've found this myself, I've been going through therapy the last year, trauma psychoanalysis. And what I've found for myself is that had I not had the knowledge, then the pace of my recovery would be a lot slower. So we can have years of trauma. We get to a point when we realize that we do have issues and problems. And the only way we're going to work it really is by getting the knowledge and also getting help. And there's not going to be one particular modality, which I've come to find out for myself, and that's going to do it all. We need to do various different things, and there can be mindfulness, there can be EMDR, there can be, something called tap-in for anxiety. There are so many different things that we can do for ourselves, but we've got to go our own path. Somebody might suggest something, we might try it out, and it may not work. So going on about the core limiting beliefs or limiting beliefs, we've got to know that there are healthy core beliefs and there are unhealthy core beliefs. And when somebody spoke to me about this years ago, about core beliefs, I really didn't understand what it meant. And I thought, what are my core beliefs? So I'm going to make it really easy for you by giving you an example of what some of your core beliefs may be. Also adding that people that have not been through trauma or PTSD also have limiting core beliefs. And when we know what they are, then we can begin to see that what we believe about ourselves, we basically put out into the world and it gets mirrored back to us. But this isn't foolproof. It doesn't mean that everything that we experience and we put out that we're going to get, back. But generally it will work that way. If we've got low self-worth and low self-esteem, and that's been given to us, and we've been educated that way as children, and we've been told we're not good enough, or just through treatment of being, the actions will show us how our parents, what they've said to us and how they treat us. Sometimes it's not words, it's the way we've been treated. And abuse can really mess with the head and make us believe things about ourselves that aren't true. For me, I see that all of us, we're all souls. This is my own belief system, that we are all souls in a body. And within that, nobody's better than anybody else. We've all got different gifts. We've all got different talents. And there are good people in the world, and there are people that are a bit more tricky to deal with. But overall, the more that we know who we are, then we can begin to rise. So here's a list that you can think about of what your limiting core beliefs may be. So you might think things like, if you've been through trauma, you might think that, I am crazy and unstable. I can't be fixed. I'm a failure. I'm weak. I don't matter. I'm not enough. I am unwanted. I am invisible. I am a mistake. I'm ugly. I am shameful. I don't matter. So a couple of more would be, I am unlovable. I am bad. I am worthless, I am stupid. So if we've got that core belief, it will be something that can be a complex, meaning that we're not really even aware that we have that belief, but it's deep inside us. So we have to, sit with ourselves and begin to look at what we're believing and what is showing up in our lives, because what is showing up in our lives is generally telling us what we believe about ourselves. And, you know, the more that we've got, the better the thoughts are about ourselves, then different things show up. And if people show up into our lives that are not good for us, then if we've got good, healthy core beliefs, then we're not going to put up with nonsense. I'm thinking of doing something that I've had a list that somebody gave me years ago, and it's actually called Transforming Core Beliefs. And I might stick what I'm going to read now onto a MP3 so that people can download this. You know, I might do that over the next week or so. But something that we can do as we do our work in complex PTSD or PTSD work, we can get to a point where we can begin to take responsibility for our own healing. But in taking responsibility, it doesn't mean that, you know, nobody's at fault. And I know that in spirituality, we're told that we can't blame people, not to be angry with people, and to forgive everybody. But some abuse is heinous, and we don't have to forgive everybody that, you know, has committed heinous stuff against children, or people who are committing heinous, you know, abuses to people. We've got to be realistic and take into account our own circumstances and our own lives. We don't have to listen to what consensus reality is telling us about what we should do about forgiving and stuff like that. So, but in taking responsibility, and clearly we've got to grieve our pain, because without grieving, we're not going to heal. If we've got all of these complexes and they're all stuffed down inside us, and we're disassociating through, you know, alcohol or overeating or whatever we may be doing, you know, drugs, whatever, then we're not going to heal. So first of all, we're going to have to clean up our act, and then we're going to have to get rid of the inner critic. We're going to have to grieve. We're going to have healthy anger and healthy blame as well. So there is a process, and the book that I suggest is below the video. There's a link which leads to Amazon.com, and that gets you the free Audible of Pete Walker's book. And then you can also check out Audible Amazon UK, which will give you the Kindle version of Pete Walker's book for free. So this is an idea, and this is core beliefs about self, and what we can begin to do once we understand our core beliefs. And if we don't, then we can read this list. We can say, I clear the original decision that I made that I am not good enough. I clear the original decision that I made that I am incompetent. I clear the original decision that I made that I am alone. So this list goes on, it's quite extensive, and I'm going to read a few more to give you an idea. I clear the original decision that I made that I am unwanted. I clear the original decision that I made that I am inherently flawed. I clear the original decision that I made that I am defective. Now, I will say in recovery, which basically means, I heard Gabor Mate say this the other day, he's a great man to check his YouTubes out. He basically was saying that recovery is basically what recovery is in healing from trauma, is recovering to the point where we get to know ourselves, where we reconnect with ourselves. Because as a child, what we do, we'll disconnect from ourselves, and we've got so much to work through as adults. It's, you know, it can feel like a never-ending task that we've got in front of us, because as we're doing the healing work, we'll take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And we might go through a period of really good days and then have a bad day and think that we've got nowhere. And we've got to start recognizing the growth that's taken place in us, because it's so easy to get lost when we have a bad day and thinking that we're just useless. And then we allow the inner critic back in, and then we feel like we're back at square one. Going on this list, I don't know if I can show you here, but if you can see, it's quite an extensive list. So that's why I'm suggesting I might do it on an MP3 so people can have it and stick it on their mobile phone, or use it as a meditation or something, or listen to it at night before you sleep. Going on this list, it says, I clear the original decision that I made that I am powerless. I clear the original decision that I made that I am less than. I clear the original decision that I made that I am wrong. I clear the original decision that I made that I am inferior. I clear the original decision I made that I am nothing. I clear the original decision that I made that I am worthless. I clear the original decision that I made that I am invisible. And I clear the original decision that I made that I am insignificant. I'm going to keep reading this because I think it's useful for people to really get to understand what's taking place with this. I think also with these statements, you know, when I say I clear the original decision that I made, that can be tricky for people who are healing, because they think, it wasn't my fault, and we've got healthy blame going on inside us. So this is not, a one-off part of the work. There's lots of different sections of the work that we do. But continuing reading this list, I clear the original decision that I made that I don't belong. I clear the original decision that I made that I am unwelcome. I clear the original decision that I made that I don't fit in. Because what we're beginning to do then is take back our power. When I say I clear that original decision, that, whatever it is. And this is the thing with core beliefs. I just look in there, I've got somebody called Eternity. She's saying hi, or he, I don't know if it's man or female, but hi, thanks for the live stream. Thank you too. Thank you for watching. So I'm going to continue with this list and just go for it. Then it goes on, I clear the original decision that I made that I am a nobody. And I clear the original decision that I made that I am nothing. I clear the original decision that I made that I am boring. And I clear the original decision that I made that I don't matter. I clear the original decision that I made that I am ugly. I clear the original decision that I made that I am dirty. And I clear the original decision that I made that it is all my fault. I clear the original decision that I made that I am crazy. And I clear the original decision that I made that I have no control. I clear the original decision that I made that I am out of control. So this list goes on for a little bit more. I'll take one from each section. I clear the original decision that I made that I am a failure. And I clear the original decision that I made that I am weak. And I clear the original decision that I made that I am a loser. I clear the original decision that I made that I am not worthy. So I think that this list, along with another list that I have that's attached to this one, which is to do with moving into our own power. And then the other thing, some of us, I'm 50-50, I go through days where I believe strongly in past lives, but I don't know. And then other days I understand that I'm, more than this body. And this is a beautiful book I'm reading at the moment, part of my astrology work, which is Understanding Karmic Complexes. So a complex is, Carl Gustav Jung would have said, I'm going to read this to you. A complex is a related group of repressed, emotionally significant ideas that cause psychic conflict, leading to, I don't like the word abnormal here, but abnormal mental states of behavior. So I wouldn't say it's so much abnormal, but, complex core patterns of emotions that have been imprinted into us. And maybe it is past life, but for many of us, we're dealing with the reality of this life and how we were reared and the things people said to us. And this can be through, religious belief systems. It can be through schools, growing up. It could be through friends. And all of these core beliefs, we can change them. We don't have to live out a life of thinking we're worthless. And I've had some terrible things said to me in childhood, which stayed with me for years. And when we replay these like a loop, the only way that we're going to stop replaying them is by beginning to reparent our own inner child, and then begin to talk to ourselves in a different way. And then as we get rid of the inner critic bit by bit, and we knock it out of the way. And I've said this on my other videos, and, I apologize if I shock anybody out there, but I told mine to bugger off, but I actually used a stronger word. Every time that inner critic came in to annihilate me and make me feel unworthy and, sad or whatever, about who I am, I tell it to bugger off. And if we don't do that, then it's not going to go away. It's we have to get conscious of the fact that these thoughts that are replaying, that are painful for us, came from somewhere. They didn't come out of nowhere. And that we have the power to begin to evolve them and transmute them. And this takes us being conscious. It's not going to happen on its own. So whoever's been watching out there, I'm going to leave it there for tonight. But what I will do, you can come over to my Facebook page, and I have a like page which is attached to my YouTube account. So you can see in the box on the corner, you'll be able to find me on, or below in the link, you'll be able to find me on Facebook. And what I'll do in the next few weeks, I will make a recording of these core beliefs and what I was saying, which was I clear all the ways I hide my potential. I clear all the ways I fear coming into my own power. I clear all the ways I block myself from coming into my own power. I clear all the ways I pretend I don't have any power. And this could be wonderful work that we do for ourselves, just by listening and going off to sleep, listening to something like that. And I'll try and make it a nice little recording with some maybe, nice rain in the background or something. So it's nice to go off to sleep too. Anyway, that's it for today. And I will be back later in the week. And if you do check out the book, that's my main thing, because it's going to help you. Good stuff. So Eternity says good stuff. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate you being there. And if you haven't got the book, Eternity, do go and get the Complex PTSD book. It's fabulous. It's life-changing, that book. It's not the only book. Other people might suggest other books, but that book definitely, began to help me step back into embody myself and to really become strong. And I have good days and I have bad days, but I have a lot more good days, and I've got a lot of self-respect and self-love now. So even in my bad days, I come around really quickly. I don't stay stuck in a hole. Sometimes it might last a couple of days, but more good days than not. Okay. Thanks for watching. Catch you later in the week.